What's going on, people? It is 11/11/14, the 110th edition of the MMA Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, a ton to talk about. We had two UFCs this past weekend, one in Sydney, Australia, another one in Uberlandia, Brazil. We're going to break down both of those cards, both of them very, very fun cards. Also, this coming Saturday, we got UFC 180. The UFC Heavyweight Championship belt is on the line, albeit an interim belt between Mark Hunt and Fabricio Verdum. We're going to talk about our boy Chael Sonnen going to ESPN. Rumble Johnson, he's back. A couple fight announcements, including Matt Brown, Tarek Safadine, Benson Henderson, Eddie Alvarez. We'll break down those. Thanks for tuning in. Let's do it, people. Hit the post.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
Thank you, Lenny Hart. Thank you, Eddie Bravo. Thank you, Smoke Serpent. And thank you, the listener. We've gotten so much support over the first 110 episodes. Really love doing the show. Not planning on stopping doing it anytime soon. If you want to listen to us, we're on YouTube. We're on iTunes. You can visit the MMA Podcast. Click the tabs at the top. If you like MMA, a friend likes MMA, tell a friend. Spread the word. The MMA Podcast is going to be here for a while, people. And we are joined by two regulars. The first one coming from Louisiana. He is known as the Eagle. He's on Twitter, Westland Eagle AH. Alan, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, guys? How y'all doing? I'm going to talk in my super nasally voice tonight because I'm just feeling like that's what I should do in honor of Chael making it.
You should do that.
To the big time. ESPN, baby. It's awesome.
Yeah, cold front is sweeping the nation. I think it's going to hit you tomorrow. I think it's hitting Texas tonight. It hit here yesterday. It's currently like 5 here. Pretty damn cold. Snow everywhere. And I mentioned Texas because our other panelist is from Austin. He is the host of the Word on the Street podcast. He is a global icon and a national treasure. He's on Twitter at the Aunt Jimmy Show. Ramses, give it to the people.
They tried to ignore me. They tried to silence me. Last week they tried to poison me. They tried to kill me. But they couldn't do it, people. I'm still here bringing you the word on the street. The latest, the greatest. And thank you, Jake, from the MMA Podcast for having me on. You can't stop me, people. I'm back. I'm stronger than ever. Listen to me. I got it. It ain't going to work. We'll go into it later. Word on the street.
Yeah, our friend Coach Jamie Huey on Twitter at Coach Jamie Huey last night broke news that, I'm not really sure how far I can go into it, so I'm not going to go too deep in it. I don't want to get our lawyers angry, but there might be some copyright infringement issues going on with the Word on the Street podcast, specifically directed from PBS/Sesame Street. That's about as far as I'll go. I can say that last night and this morning, Ramses was detained in a federal correctional facility in Austin, Texas. We had our buddy Super Calo send in money from Brazil. Took a little while to clear, but it cleared, and we got our buddy Ramses out. The coach, Ramses, and I will be fighting the case. That's about as much as I think we're at liberty to talk about now. Definitely stay tuned. I don't know if there's going to be a word on the street this week, but there might be one next week. And depending on what our lawyers let us say, we'll fill you in on all the developments.
I do want to say something
people.
real quick, if I can. I'm sorry. I just want to say that, even though I can't go into it, the Austin Police Department, down there at the police headquarters right here in downtown Austin, they were nothing but courteous and kind to me and very respectful. That is all I can say at this time. They had nothing to do with the actual conspiracy against me. They are just doing
Didn't the
their
feds
jobs.
take you off of them, right? Or are we allowed to discuss the details of the
Look,
case yet?
deals are being cut. Right now it's touch and go, much like the board game Operation.
And
Word on
Micro
the
Touch One, the best razors in the business. Word on the street. Let's get straight to MMA, folks. Enough legal matters. We had UFC Fight Night Sydney. It was this past Friday. And luckily they did the show. I think they did it I guess it was Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning. Luckily they made both shows at strange times locally, so they would be at good times in the U.S. because Friday's card was in Sydney. Saturday's card actually was in Brazil, and I think local time it started at 3:30 a.m. just so they could put it on television here at 10 p.m. live, because we all know that tape shows in the U.S. just bomb and get the worst ratings ever. But it got a pretty decent gate of 1.5 millions. The Aussies love watching fights, and it would have been a very fun card to watch. The first card in UFC history with 11 finishes. I don't think it's the first card ever to have all finishes. Probably the first card ever in the modern era. You had the old, UFC 18 where you had, 8 or 9 fights and all of them were just savage boxers. And of course there were going to be KOs. But I mean, every single fight, you had a Brimage KO, a Kelly sub, a Clements TKO, a Smolka TKO, an Alvey KO, a Peroge submission, a Matthews submission, Pelele a TKO, Whitaker, Iaquinta, both beautiful, brutal TKOs in the second round, and Luke Rockhold finishing it off with a sub. Not only were all of them finishes, every fight except one was finished in the first or second round, and the one that wasn't finished in the first or second round was finished merely 18 seconds into the third round. That was the Lewis Smolka fight, the flyweight fight, as you would expect. You see the most fights go the distance at 125 just because these guys aren't generating the power typically to get a knockout. But Lewis Smolka landed a very, very pretty kick, followed it up with a bunch of punches. We saw Robert Whitaker, who, I mean, we've seen Clint Hester walk out like a beast and do terrible things to folks. Whitaker was looking like a prime Clint Hester, the way he just rolled over him in the second round. Shout out to our boy Ross Finkelstein. Before that L, his buddy over at Law MMA, Al Iaquinta, got the second round TKO over Ross Pearson. Yeah, Alan, I'll pass it to you first. Let's save the main event to talk about as its own thing, Rockhold versus Bisping. But from the other 10 fights, all of them finishes, a lot of fun fights to choose from. What stood out for you?
Every single fight was super exciting, but really 2 fights stand out to me. And, I mean, it was really shocking. Was the freaking Sam Alvey and Dylan Andrews. Dylan Andrews came out with his heavy pressure, wrestling, throwing bombs, and goes for that suplex, man, and ends up landing on his own head and knocks himself out almost completely unconscious. And Sam Alvey, all he had to do was throw 2 punches and get the win. And
Smiling Sam.
It's unfortunate for Dylan Andrews because, I mean, he was looking so fucking sharp. I mean, his last fight he got injured in, he was losing the fight at first and then started coming back and then got injured and was unable to finish. They called the fight. And, this fight, for it to go that way, I hate to see, string of bad luck for people. It really sucks.
Ramsey's sorry.
Well, I just wanted to also point out, I mean, yeah, all the fights were finishes. They were all super exciting and really good. But, man, that kid, Matthews, I mean, I've seen him fight one other time. Yeah, I've seen him fight one other time. But, dude, it was a size mismatch. But he came out and toasted Bagnarocha. And, I mean, for him being as young as he is and, training just everything and being so well rounded. I mean, there's really no like level of expectation that can be too small for him because it's like Rory. I mean, I think he could be as good as Rory McDonald, depending on how well he fares against the competition. He looks so good, and he's 20 years old. So I can't wait to see him develop. See the next couple of fights. I hope they move him along, slowly. I think he had called somebody out, but I want them to take their time with him, and pace. But that kid, man, that made me excited watching that.
Yeah, we had a few chokes, but Hocha, I believe the only one who was actually put to sleep with a choke 1:52 into the second round. Ramses, what stood out for you?
Well, I can't even. I have to take umbrage with something that the Eagle just said here. He was talking Sam Alvey versus. I honestly don't remember who the opponent was. Who was it? Alvey, the guy that knocked himself out. Who was it? Anybody? The fight that Alan was just talking about. Sam Alvey. Who did he
Dylan
fight? Somebody.
Andrews. Dylan Andrews.
All right. Yeah. The villain.
Wasn't
yeah.
muted,
Sorry. I gotta say, Alan, man, like, yes, the dude did knock himself out technically, but you're not giving Sam Alvey any credit. He saw that takedown coming and he countered it. He's kind of like half swept the leg under it. He kept the rotation from going all the way over. That was skill. That was technique. Sam Alvey won that fight. I mean, the dude knocked himself out because Sam not stuffed. He misdirected his takedown, didn't let him complete it, landed with his full force on the guy's fucking head. The guy does knock himself out technically. And then Sam Alvey flips over right away because he knows what he just did. He wasn't like, oh, I think I should take... No, he knew right away. It was total skill. I think you're doing Sam Alvey a disservice, him and his wife and his newborn son, and I think you owe them an apology, Eagle. Sam Alvey for life. He's back, bro. He got cut from the UFC, I believe. And now he's back, man. And what if it was you, dude? What if you were Smiling Sam? Yeah, his wife isn't America's top model anymore.
Oh my
She's not that
God.
hot. She's all blown up after the kid.
Hey, Ramses.
This guy still keeps fighting. Ramses. What do you guys say?
Ramses.
Yeah.
All I have to say to that is fuck Sam Alvey's little kid because his dad sucked.
Y'all are demented as fuck, and I'm gonna use this opportunity of controlling the mic to segue into Rockhold versus Bisping. Rockhold looking really crisp, subbing Mike out 57 seconds into the second round. Rockhold's got a lot of really slick subs on his record. A really nice Kimura he put on Tim Boach at UFC 172. I'm trying to think. He had a lot of rear naked chokes in Strikeforce. Oh man, I'm not gonna get caught up on it. But Luke just looking very good at middleweight. Probably a fight or two away from a title fight next. I'm not sure who his next matchup is going to be, but you've got to assume it's going to be a top 3 guy. I think a rematch versus Jacare would make sense. The two fought one another back in Strikeforce in September 2011, and Rockhold took the belt from Jacare in what I believe was a pretty huge upset at the time for the Strikeforce and middleweight strap. But what did you think of the fight? What do you think should be next for Rockhold? And on the flip side, of course, you have Bisping, who, just like they did after the Tim Kennedy fight, they're saying that his eyesight might not be perfect. We actually got a chance to talk to Tim just a couple months after the fight and asked him what he thought about, his vision and the longevity of Bisping's career. And he said, yeah, I can't really speak for the guy, but if you're not really seeing correctly and if you're not, getting depth perception, right? I don't care if you're Bisping or whoever, you might want to think about hanging up the gloves for, like, your own benefit. Do you all think his vision is an issue? He lost to Tim, looked extremely crisp against Kung Lee just a few months ago in August, but came out and even though the fight ended in the second round, it didn't look he had much of a chance in the third or the first. Sorry, Alan, thoughts on the fight and what both guys are looking at moving forward?
Like Michael Bisping said, he'll be back, man. I think it was just a fluke. I think Rockhold, just got lucky.
And Rockhold's a great fighter. Like to get your ass kicked by Luke Rockhold does not by any stretch mean you're a bad fighter.
Yeah, like Bisping said, he'll be back. I think Luke's probably. I just don't like the way Luke reacts whenever he gets hit. Whenever he's in there with a guy who strikes really hard. If you go back and watch this Jacare fight, if they rematch, I hope he's worked on his defense because, Jacare's striking has very much improved since then. And, that was the only really weak point I saw in Rockhold's game is whenever he gets hit, he tends to, backpedal straight back and his head's always, open. But, I think Bisping will be back. Just like I've always said, Bisping's never going to fight for a title, but he'll always be in that, top 10, top 5. He's always going to be a contender. He's always going to beat the guys that, are just below that title contention level. But he's never going to beat the top contender. He'll always make it to that eliminator shot and then get beat. But I love watching Michael Bisping fight. I love seeing him build up a fight. The feud that those two guys had, it made me want to watch the fight, man. It was what the UFC is supposed to be. And there's not too many guys like that. So, I hope Michael's eye, really isn't as bad as some people speculate and that he's able to, continue fighting and putting on a show for people. And like you said, Kennedy, he's got to fight Jacare. I don't think, depending on how Vitor does against Weidman, I don't think that you can give Kennedy the shot over over Jacare just because, I think Mousasi beats Bisping as well. And, Jacare finishing him that easily. That was just nuts. So, I still got Jacare a little higher than Kennedy. Even though, they had a close fight and, Kennedy did win. I want to see those two guys rematch. I want to see who deserves the next title shot.
Bisping versus Rockhold, people. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't what I saw. This fight was nothing more than an exhibition. And in that sense, I will say that it was a work. Bisping...
The fight was a work, people.
Hey, Bisping is one of my favorite fighters. I'm a fan of the man. He's a personal, close friend of mine. But, and I don't have this from him or anything, but the word on the street, and that's all I'm here to give you people. The word on the street is that Bisping...
Word on the street.
Is pretty much blind in one eye. And then he's got this cut over the other one. They pretty much agreed to shake hands, make it an exhibition. Rockhold will always go along with that. We all know his record. And
he is a faggot.
He was going to pull it off. Just look at it. Just watch the fight again. Bisping ain't throwing anything serious. Neither is Rockhold. It ends in a submission where Bisping's like, you got me. And then if you notice, here's the dead giveaway. When in the first round, when there's the headbutt that opens up the cut on Bisping, Bisping, he calls his own timeout. He's like headbutt, and then Herb Dean gives it to him. That's how you know. Herb Dean gave him that timeout. It's an exhibition, guys. That's what we witnessed. And I'm not saying that the UFC is they're rigging it. It's an all part of an evil plan. But what we saw was a friendly agreement. Not to be lethal with each other, and it was an exhibition, in my opinion. But either way, we were entertained.
Alan, what did you think? I saw a lot of folks on Twitter talking about two different things. A lot of folks alleging that Rockhold purposely, on accident, headbutted the shit out of Bisping, which I personally think it was an accident. But the way Rockhold's head went in there, it was definitely the hard part of Rockhold's head slamming against a softer part of Bisping's head. To the thing Ramsey alluded to, Bisping basically calling his own timeout. He may as well have thrown his hands up and signaled the fucking T at Herb Dean, because he just started yelling, headbutt, 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 and then Herb runs in, and even though I assume he didn't see it, he broke the two up. Even though it looked like it looked like Luke was pretty intent on like keeping on the beating until Herb, signaled that he was going to step in and break him up. What did you think of both of those aspects, Alan?
I don't know. I didn't look too much into the headbutt. I'm not about those conspiracy theories. You see Brazilians all the time, like Worley Alves, pussy ass bitch, calling his own timeouts in Brazil, timeouts in Brazil because that's what they do. I don't care if he is team sonning. They do that shit all the time on their home field. So, Sydney, Australia is still owned by the Queen and Michael Bisping. That's home turf, and he's able to call timeout. So, fuck it. If the Brazilians can do it, so can everyone else.
Hot takes from the Eagle. We now have Rockhold at number 5 in the middleweight rankings. Bisping number 9. Ramses, what do you make for both of those guys moving forward? Should Rockhold be a win away from the championship now? Because currently your top 5 after Weidman are Anderson first, who Weidman has beaten twice. Belfort, who Weidman's fighting next, is a favorite over. Jacare, who he has not fought. Lyoto Machida, who he's fought. And Rockhold. Bisping at number 9. And he is a nice guy, and I hate to say it, but it's sort of turned into the story of his career. He starts getting a little close. He starts sniffing around the title, and he gets beat down. What do you make for both of these dudes?
Yeah, unfortunately, this was probably it for Bisping as far as an actual legit title shot goes. Something weird would have to happen for him to have the stars align and get that championship shot at this point. This was probably his last real chance. Now he's at least a year, at least until deep into next year, he's relegated to gatekeeper status. Rockhold, though, it's obvious what they're doing. Just like it's obvious with professional wrestling. They're building him up. They're building him up to sell a pay-per-view title shot. They wouldn't mind crowning him. He's a good-looking guy, speaks well, smart, and he can whoop some ass. And he's willing to take one for the team. He's a company man. He got knocked out by Vitor for just to do them a favor. Prove his worth in the UFC. God bless him. So he deserves everything that's coming his way. I don't know what's up with the Tiger shit. That's a little weird. But Rockhold's he's gonna get a title shot. He would have to just get caught with a dead body in his trunk, blowing cocaine in cops' faces in order to fuck up his title shot. It's impending. It's coming. They're setting it up. They're probably gonna ask me to script it. Word on the street.
Yeah, for Mike, I honestly do wish him the best of luck, but since losing his second UFC middleweight title eliminator fight to Chael Sonnen back in Chicago in January 2012, the guy has not been able to string 2 straight wins together back to back. He's probably a UFC Hall of Famer, whether or not he got a belt. He I think has had more fights in the middleweight division than anyone else. I believe. I think I saw Chris Lieben tweet that out. I don't know where Anderson Silva ranks up there because he's obviously had a lot of fights too. We'll have our stat boy look into it at Ross Finkelstein. But yeah, for Luke, I think it makes the most sense to match him up against Jacare and make Jacare versus Rockhold the rematch a title eliminator fight for the winner of Vitor Belfort and Chris Weidman. Moving on, the night following UFC Fight Night, Rockhold Bisping in Sydney. That Saturday night, we had UFC Fight Night Shogun versus St. Preux in Uberlandia, Brazil. Like I mentioned, it was at a pretty odd time in Brazil. It started at 3:30 local time, and from all reports, the Ginásio Municipal Tancredo Neves, the arena that it was being held at, was just sweltering hot. And I think we saw that rub off on a few fighters. I was seeing tons of media folks tweeting at Anik and Florian, thanking them for their service. They were sweating hard in the heat. A few more decisions on this card. Scrolling down now, we had Colby Covington winning via rear naked choke. Thomas Almeida with a decision win. Leandro Silva with a first round rear naked choke. Caio Magalhães, a first round KO 30 seconds in. That guy looks dangerous. Diego Rivas, a unanimous decision win. Moving to the main card, women's strawweight fight at 115. Juliana Lima defeating Nina and Saraf. Diego Lima, brother of Douglas Lima, winning. Claudio Silva winning. Warley Alves winning. All those fights being judges' nods, all unanimous except for the Claudio Silva fight. And then we had Ovint St. Preux and Shogun Hua. At least from what I saw on, Twitter and pics, it was pretty split down the line. Most folks thought that Jimmy Manoa would beat Hua, but OSP not, as experienced in mixed martial arts, still most known for being a football crossover. He played college football at Tennessee. This only his fifth or sixth fight. And he's won all of them except his match against Ryan Bader this past August. Stepped in and absolutely demolished Hua. 34 seconds into the first round, won one of the $50,000 bonuses for it. Alan, I'll throw it to you first. Also, really quick, forgot to mention, a bout between Uncle Creepy, Ian McCall, and John Lineker was supposed to be the co-main event. However, just 2 or 3 hours after both guys weighed in, Ian announced that he had to pull out of the fight due to a viral infection, and the bout was pulled from the card. So the bout versus Diego Lima and Jorge Oliveira was moved up to the main card, and the Warley Alves fight, where he fought Alan Jouban, a robbery on just about everyone I saw scoring the fight scored it for Alan. Another Alan from Louisiana who got jobbed. Alan, what did you think about your boy Alan getting jobbed and the rest of the card, except for the OSP fight? We'll save that for its own thing, like we did the Rockhold fight.
I did just want to say one brief thing because I didn't mention it before. Soa Palele won in Sydney. Soa Palele, the whole
your boy.
Goat. But no, this card was actually really cool. I enjoyed it. Didn't see all of the prelims, but everything that I did see was, it was decent. I did miss the Brenneman fight, but from seeing that he got knocked out again in the first round, Charlie Brenneman, please lead the UFC. The other fight that I thought was kind of weird was the Leon Edwards and Claudio Silva fight.
Yeah.
That just, I if you look at the numbers and like the control and all that, and the number of strikes, it kind of the numbers kind of lead towards Claudio, But Leon Edwards, man, watching that fight, I've watched it twice. I think he won that fight, man. I think he was just more technical. He landed more shots. He did more. And I don't know, man. I don't agree with that decision. And also going to the Diego Lima fight, I'm not impressed with him. The guy's got some good grappling and everything, but I don't think he's got the striking to deal with the top level guys in his weight class. That's just, that's what I think. I think we'll kind of see that, bear itself out later on. But if you want to talk about the Alan Joban and Warley Alves fight, if you go back and watch,
what did you think of that?
You go back and watch that fight, and after the first like two minutes and like 20 seconds, once Warley Alves in that first round is finished with his barrage and all of his offense, he is basically losing the fight from that point on through the third round. Like at no point past that mark in the fight is he ever winning the fight clearly for any length of extended, any extended period of time. Joban was pressuring him, was landing more strikes, was being more accurate. It was ridiculous in the third round when Alves just for the last minute, 2 minutes of the fight just tried to run away, kept looking at the clock. He did look good in that first, minute and a half, 2 minutes of the fight. But after that, I don't know what the judges were watching because it was clearly a one-sided fight from that point on. I mean, he had a couple of spots, but it was no, it was clear that, Joban was controlling the fight from that point on. And I don't, even the crowd, man, the crowd was totally shocked by the decision. And it's in Brazil. So for a Brazilian crowd to not agree with a Brazilian getting the decision win, that tells you something right there, man. And it's just aggravating over and over again seeing this crap with these guys that, fight their ass off, and it's clear who should win the fight, and that guy doesn't get his hands raised. I don't really know what to say. It's not really anything that we can do to fix it. But
luckily, Dana and Zuffa and Lorenzo get a ton of flack, and a little bit of it's warranted. Most of it isn't. But one thing you definitely got to credit them for, when someone gets jobbed, a lot of times they'll give that fighter a win bonus, actually give them the money they would have earned if they won. B, even if they don't do that, it normally seems like they'll at least give them a good matchup next. They won't move them down the ladder too far just because they got jobbed and took a loss. Ramses?
I didn't really. Well, are we including the OSP Shogun fight, or is that separate?
Separate.
Okay. In that case, I got to be honest. I bounced around this card. I was literally, recovering from severe flu and dehydration. I was drifting in and out of not sleep, consciousness. I didn't see the Alan Joban. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I still have not seen the fight. And I didn't watch most of the other fights either, except, one or two here. The good ones I would wake up for and actually struggle to blink because maybe my eyelids had saved up enough fluid to lubricate my eyeballs enough to open them to watch. That's how bad it was, people. I could feel my organs turning into solid rocks inside of my body as it just bloated. And I sat there just wondering, the next time I puke, is that going to be the last time because I'm dead? Or is this going to end someday? So I didn't watch these fights. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
You didn't see any of them. It's actually, it's funny. Your Saturday was my Sunday, which sucks because
You're not making sense, man.
you were sick as shit on Saturday, and on Sunday I was so sick I couldn't get out of bed all day, which sucks because my roommate and I usually watch the NFL Red Zone channel, and
I thought you were trying to tell me you're from the future.
I'm from the future. My name is John Titor. Alan, were you asking me something? Open mics, people.
I was gonna say that OSP's only had about like 8 less fights than Shogun.
Yeah,
he hadn't fought like the same type of caliber, but really impressed with him.
You like eating crackers?
I was eating some more tortilla chips because
you son of a bitch.
I asked him what flavor they were, people, and he said grain.
And did they have a flavor? Like, yeah, it's like 9 grain. Like, that's not the flavor of your chip.
They're plain.
That's just
plain ass chips. I honestly don't mind a plain chip from time to time. And speaking of open mics, folks, if you want to jump in, you don't feel like chatting, you just want to tweet us at the MMA Podcast. If you do feel like chatting, the phone lines are open, people. If you are listening live, which we do the show Tuesday nights. It used to be Wednesdays, but we moved the show to Tuesday to give you the trifecta. You got us on Tuesday, you got Chael on Wednesday, and you got Ramses on Thursday. Listen to Chael's show. You're welcome. Every show, the one with Ariel, Lieben, GSP, and Jim Ross, they've all been on the money. Next week, we got none other than last week's Word on the Street guest, Front Row Brian. That should be pretty fun. I think they got Phil Baroni, too. It's going to be a fun-ass podcast, people. But, yeah, it's 213-457-3380 if you want to call in or Skype us at the MMA Podcast. Open mics, hot takes. And, Alan, you were alluding to Ovin St. Preux taking on Mauricio Shogun Hua. Both guys, OSP, he's 17-6. Shogun 22-10. And, yeah, that sounds like they have similar fight experience. But then you have to realize OSP didn't. His pro career started in 2008. He made it to XFC in 2009. He made it to Strikeforce in 2010. He made his UFC debut a year ago. I mean, he really hasn't been fighting on the big stage. His first big fight was a fight against Gegard Mousasi in Strikeforce a little under 3 years ago, which he lost. And then he's had 3 huge fights. He fought his ass off, lost a few fights early, made it to 11-4, won his first 4 fights in Strikeforce, and then got matched up against Gegard, who he lost to because Gegard is a monster. Worked his way up, beat TJ Cook, Jean Valenti, Cody Donovan, Nikita Krylov with a Von Flu choke, which shout out to my friend at VJ Jeans. I actually was watching this live, and Jay and I were both on Skype watching it live, and when he locked it in, Jay goes, "Oh, that's the Von Flu choke," which I'm trying to do his British accent. But the dude literally called the Von Flu choke as he was locking it in before the fight was even fucking over. So props to him for picking up on one of the most, rare, not seen subs you see in the sport. But that's besides the point. He's on Twitter at DJ Jeans. Then he beat Jimmo, and then in his second huge fight in his career, he lost another decision to Ryan Bader. Wasn't going to have much of a fight. I think he was going to face Rafael Cavalcante, which, yeah, I mean, he's not a bum, but at the same time, he hasn't really beaten many people. I mean, he beat Yoel Romero 3 years ago, but that was in Strikeforce. The guy only has 3 fights in the UFC, and his only win is against Igor Pokerjack. I feel like I'm ranting here, folks. The point I'm making is OSP, he's been in a lot of fights, but a huge amount of those fights were against folks who just couldn't wrestle with him, couldn't have that athleticism standing up with him. Where Hua, yeah, he's only had 8 more fights, but his career spans back to Pride in '03 and '04 and fighting, legends like Gono and Rampage and Little Nog and Overeem and Mark Coleman and Kevin and Randleman and then joining the UFC and having these wars with Chuck Liddell, Lyoto Machida, John Jones, Dan Henderson, Alex Gustafsson, Chael Sonnen. I mean, the guy has so many fights under his belt, and he's won one of his last 5 fights. I mean, you have a lot of writers saying that he needs to hang his gloves up, and that's probably the biggest, talking point now that the fight's over. OSP really looking good and is maybe top 10 now, but I think the thing that most folks are talking about are Jesus Christ, I can't get my verb conjugation correct tonight, people, is whether or not Shogun Hua should hang his gloves up. Alan, what did you think of the fight, and what do you think about both guys looking ahead?
It showed how, Shogun exposed himself. He went for that, I don't even know how you would describe it other than just wild and reckless, charge.
Yeah.
Berserker charge, and OSP just sidestepped him and just caught him with a hook, or it's just
looking
precision.
Like Money May out there.
Yeah, and it's nothing really you can say. It's not that I think that Shogun's done. I just think that like him, Chael Sonnen, Bisping, all these older guys, the old guard, they're not going to be able to just like athletically hang. Yeah, they're not going to be able to hang with these guys that are, the new breed, the new generation of MMA fighters that are genetically enhanced. Like they're just
Forrest
better
Griffin.
better athletes. Yeah, so it's not so much of how much Shogun's deteriorated. Shogun was beating the shit out of Dan Henderson, and just got caught. That's all it was. Dan Henderson fucking got lucky and caught him. Do I think that Shogun can still beat a lot of guys? Fuck yeah, man. He knocked James Tuhuna out with one goddamn punch. But I don't think that, he needs to be matched up with top level guys that are in the top 10, because I don't think Shogun's top 10 anymore. So drop him out of the rankings. If he wants to keep fighting, let him have a couple of easy fights at middleweight, maybe see how he likes it, but like, guys are saying he should hang it up. I mean, they're flash knockouts. It's not like he's getting brutalized and he's taking like immense amounts of damage. I mean, he's just getting hit once. And what we all know about head trauma is as long as it's not prolonged, guys don't tend to have like serious issues. Like the times whenever you see like serious head trauma is when guys get hit in the head repeatedly after they get that first big hit, and it moves the brain around inside the head. So he's getting hit one time and getting knocked out. I'm fine with that. It happens to everybody. Let the dude fight though if he wants. Just take him out the top 10. Stop matching him up with guys that he shouldn't be in the octagon with, because he's a legend, but he's not a contender.
I really like that term you used in old guard, because we're really seeing like a generational change, and it's funny we're seeing it in a lot of weight classes at once. But you have this generation of guys, Penn, Sonnen, Bisping, Dan, Shogun, Overeem, GSP, Anderson. You have all of these guys who a few years ago were the kings of the sport. You look at it now, the kings of the sport are your, Mighty Mouse, Weidman, Kane, Jones, Pettis, Dillashaw. And I'm curious to see whether they'll be around for a number of years are, you know, whose names end up turning into legend. I'm getting deep here.
Hamilton.
Hell yeah, the Eagle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, look,
Ramses, you are a legend.
So is Shogun, and I do honor that. I respect that. I really do, people. But I have to say what needs to be said, and I'm telling you right now, Shogun is on the decline, of course. But yes, it's basically on Sunday morning we all woke up and all the papers, the headline said "show bum," and
Damn.
and I don't want to say this because I do respect him. But there's something missing ever since he faced Dan Henderson and since Chael Sonnen choked the life out of him. Team Quest, Dan Henderson, Chael Sonnen, Team Quest drained. They took Shogun's soul. They took his soul away from him, people. It's sad, but it's a part of life. It was embarrassing to watch. I've got to say, we all cringed. If Shogun was a prize-winning racehorse, we all know what would happen right now. That's the word on the street.
Are you alluding that Dana and Lorenzo should shoot Shogun in the back of the head?
Barbaro style 2006 Kentucky Derby, bitch.
Damn, that's
Word on the street.
that is a good way to end our breakdown of UFC Brazil and Uberlandia. The other winners of the $50,000 bonuses, aside from OSP, were Leandro Silva for his sub, and Thomas Almeida and Tim Gorman for fight of the night. Let's move on, people. Let's get to the news. If we're getting sued for using the Word on the Street podcast, I'm sure a lawsuit's coming down the pipeline for me using that drop 100 times, taking it straight from CBS or ABC or NBC or ESPN. Speaking of ESPN, you like this segue, people. ESPN signs Chael Sonnen. You knew it was only a matter of time. Jim Ross said it best. Chael Sonnen meant more to Fox than Fox meant to Chael Sonnen. And since Chael's left, you've seen the ratings dip crazily. I think DC helps the show, but you know, Sonnen is the most charismatic person in the sports scene. ESPN, I think they've been lacking in mixed martial arts coverage. I used to religiously watch. I think the show was MMA Live, and the funny thing was, MMA Live, I have direct TV, and MMA Live would always come on at like 1:30 a.m. on a Wednesday night, or 12:30. It would come on some stupid time, which definitely props to Fox for airing UFC tonight at 8 o'clock on Wednesday every night. Like, that's a big slot, and Fox is definitely seems invested in the UFC's stuff. But ESPN would air it at like 1:30 a.m. on a Wednesday night, and every time, they would never fail. I would always set it on my DVR, because I was either I was in college, so I was either passed out from smoking too much weed, or out drinking, or doing some stupid bullshit, but I wasn't around normally. And every single time I would record it, come back home, and there would be an infomercial on, or it would be like the end of like a monster truck rally, and I'd catch like the first minute and a half of it at the end of the recording, and it'd end. ESPN just showing that they didn't really give a shit. Like, they would post up news stories from other media outlets just sort of to have a dummy page up. They didn't have their own guys breaking shit, being there live. But ESPN signing Sonnen, I don't know if they're planning on bringing back MMA Live, but that's a huge move. Sonnen, is one of the most well-known folks in the sport, so he's not gonna charge a nickel. The guy is an expensive get, so. Yes, on into ESPN. Since John Anik left MMA Live, I just stopped watching it because the show felt as shit. And no slight to the folks who were there replacing him, but I just didn't really enjoy it after John left. John, an alumnus of this show, the MMA Podcast. I more than anything else, I know Chael's gonna keep doing his show. Another Metamoris fight, maybe not. We'll see. The guy's happy. The guy's married. He's just trying to have a family. The guy's not hurting. What I'm most interested to see is that now will ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, are they going to really start dedicating themselves to covering MMA? Because if the answer is yes, that's fucking awesome. Alan? Alan fell asleep because I just ranted for fucking 15 minutes on ESPN. There he is.
I was actually crying because I was in tears. Because I'm so fucking happy that now I can not only listen to Chael Sonnen on the podcast.
Chael Sonnen?
Yeah, Chael Sonnen. I can listen to him on the podcast. You're welcome. But I can also now, once again, live and only on ESPN, see Chael P. Sonnen do work on the mic like only he can. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
Chael!
Lord Jesus. Ramses, I know you got a hot take locked and loaded.
I just want to say praise the Lord for everything that he's done for us and what he's doing for Chael Sonnen and his family right now. This news that he's joining ESPN could not have come at a better time. I hate to blow up Chael's spot and, pry into his personal life here and put that on display for you people, but he was down to his last 25 million. All right. He was in dire straits. You think his wife is you think those fur coats are going to pay for themselves? How much do you think?
She needs another Jaguar, by God.
Yep, gourmet dog and cat food. You think that's inexpensive? The other day, the final straw the other week was Chael Sonnen. He caught himself looking at the price on a menu. He was disgusted with himself. All right, but here he is. He's back. He's getting paid once again. ESPN, the biggest sports network of all time, on all history. Now they've got the greatest MMA fighter of all time, of all history. And it does suck that I do now. I'm gonna have to become one of those dudes that watches Sports Center now.
Hell yeah!
And I don't know how to feel about that, but I'm doing it for you, Chael. It's time the fans gave back, so I will become one of those guys, one of those douches who watches ESPN Sports Center. Thank you.
Do it for the champ.
Look, people. Chael Sonnen's dog, Danger Waffles, eats finer and more exquisite meats than Ramses, Alan, myself, or you, the listener, have ever eaten or will ever eat in your entire life. You like how I broke down the fourth wall there? I also really quick before we get to the 10 solid seconds of sports, wanted to allude to Chael Sonnen talking about on his podcast 2 or 3 weeks ago that Vince McMahon offered him $5 million to jump ship from the UFC to the WWE. Chael Sonnen said he didn't even mention it to Dana because he knew he wasn't going to leave, but that the offer did exist, $5 million to go to the WWE. A lot of folks were thinking that was, a joke or a lie, because Sonnen obviously is a bit of a storyteller, but a lot of people thought that there was a lot of truth in those comments. What do both of you make of it, Alan? Hey, Pussy, you still there?
100% accurate. Why wouldn't the biggest, the oldest sports entertainment network in the world want the bad guy? No, man. I mean, when the WWE looks at things, they look at it from, like a money perspective. And I mean, what else is there to Chael Sonnen than money making? That's all the man does is make
like
money.
Floyd Mayweather.
Except like 10 times over and more popular and more rich because he's white.
Rich, dude. Money May. Chael is rich, and Chael, like I said, I stick to my guns in saying that his pets eat more exquisite meats, fresh lambs, fresh USDA grade A beefs. The Sonnens are all eating well, but Floyd, hate on the guy all you want. The guy's worth almost $1 billion. And I'm gonna try and get
talking about how much money he's made. We're talking about how much money he still has. And when you listen to what the bad guy said when Dana asked him, "Are you needing any money?" Chael Sonnen said, "I've got every penny you ever gave me."
And no offense against Chael, but even if he kept every penny and was eating top ramen the last decade, Money May could spend 99% of his checks and still be in equal waters. The guy's worth nearly $1 billion, and like I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted, was that I'm going to try and get as many Floyd and Broner references into this show for our buddy, Yeah The Truth. You can follow him on Twitter at YAO_The Truth. He hasn't been on in a while. He's grappling. He is the WBG, the world's best grappler, winning golds all over the country, doing it for the MMA Podcast. He actually has the MMA Podcast logo and Word on the Street tattooed on his fight shorts. The guy's a fucking beast. One of the nicest kids I've ever met. He's a goddamn sweetheart. Ramses, what do you make of these claims that Vince McMahon offered Chael Sonnen $5 million to go to the WWE? That's a lot of green.
It's 100% true. It's a true story. That was the real offer on the table, but I disagree, Jake. It's not a lot of green. In fact, I think Vince McMahon is a complete asshole. He was lowballing Chael Sonnen. $5 million is an insult, and Chael didn't take it. I mean, Chael pisses that away on blackjack every night. Online, $5 million. That ain't shit, people. You got to remember. And
are there websites where you can bet $5 million?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll send you the link. But the point is, Chael, like he knows where to make his bed. I mean, $5 million just to turn his back on the UFC. That's paid him easily 3 times that. Not even counting the opportunities rising from his career as a legitimate fighter. But yeah, $5 million. That's real cheap. That's a lowball offer. I would have laughed at it too. And honestly, Chael Sonnen is literally, word on the street, he is wealthier than Floyd Mayweather. You have to understand that Chael Sonnen is a white Republican male.
Oh my God!
He writes Floyd Mayweather's checks. By God,
they basically hide their money. Okay, the white Republicans, males, they hide their wealth very well. Like George Bush. I don't
see Warren Buffett chilling at Team Reign, son. I'm seeing him at the NBC in Chinatown in Las Vegas, chilling at Mayweather Boxing Club, playing dominoes with Roger Mayweather, son.
You know that Chael tosses his cell phone and gets a new one every time he makes a phone call? Word on the street.
And the phone company just changes the number for him using a satellite.
Yep.
That Floyd Mayweather owns. This is turning into an insane argument. Let's keep it moving. The 10 solid seconds of sports, where we break down all sports that aren't MMA. NFL getting close to the playoffs. The Bears completely suck ass. Packers, Broncos, Patriots all doing well. College football playoff talk heating up. Mississippi State #1. Florida State, Oregon, TCU round out the top 4. I had a whole jag about college basketball starting that I knew I couldn't fit into the last 1.2 seconds and still hit the post. So I'm going to talk after the 10 solid seconds of sports, effectively making it like 23 solid seconds of sports. But people, Anthony Rumble Johnson, I have no segue for that other than domestic violence has been a big topic in sports. Rumble Johnson's back. He was suspended indefinitely from the UFC, which was probably a smart move. Zuffa and Dana White, especially with all the pressure from all these violence issues going on, these DV issues all over sports, especially in the NFL. They suspended him indefinitely to sort of let the case sort itself out. Honestly, I didn't look into the details of the case, but I'm assuming that the fact that he was brought back to the UFC, his suspension ended effective now. It probably meant that the legal gears spun away, and they found that either there wasn't enough evidence that Rumble was not guilty, which I mean,
Or the bitch was lying.
Or like Alan said, the bitch was lying, because it definitely takes away from the actual cases where women have been really harmed, but it goes both ways. Men that hit women make men look like complete asses, and women that lie about this sort of shit make women look like total asses. And a lot of times when you have an athlete, a rich athlete, NFL, UFC, basketball, what the fuck ever, women can sort of have a little bit of leeway there and get a little bit of money out of that. But I'm not saying that that's what Rumble's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, I don't know what it was, but the legal gears have turned, and Rumble seems to have been absolved of all this, which doesn't shock me. I mean, he seems like a very quiet, humble person. So yeah, I'm glad to see him back in. He's definitely a threat at a 205. After Jones versus Cormier, I think your top 3 205ers are Gustafsson, Rumble, and Rashad Evans. So I don't know. I've been hearing whispers about Gustafsson versus Rashad in Sweden. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't know if the UFC's maybe trying to fit Rumble in there. I don't know if Rumble will be ready to fight. I think that Stockholm card is January 24th, which is in a mere 2.5 months.
Rashad's already off. He can't make it. He's going to be back in March.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. We'll definitely see. But what do you think about Rumble coming back? And should Rumble? I mean, I guess we all can assume that Alexander Gustafsson is gonna be one fight away from a title shot. So, are you going to give that title eliminator fight to Anthony Johnson or Rashad Evans? Wait until March and give it to Rashad. I say just give it to a Rumble, barring this whole suspended indefinitely, then brought back in a couple months later thing. While Rashad Evans definitely has some pretty good wins on his record, you have to look at the fact that he's fought the champion, and Jones gave it to him pretty easily, whereas with Gustafsson versus Rumble, you have Rumble, who has the benefit of not fighting Jones yet, and Gustafsson, who gave Jones his the stiffest test of his career. What do you think's next for Rumble? Could Rumble beat Gus, or do you not see him winning that fight?
I don't think it's a good matchup for him, and I don't think the UFC is going to make that matchup. I think they're going to look to have those guys face other people. That way they still have 2 different contenders. Because let's be honest, the John Jones-Alexander Gustafsson fight is still a really big fight. It's a huge rematch. And after, he fights Cormier, even if he loses, it's still a big rematch. You could still have Gustafsson fight Jones. If somebody else was fighting for the title, let's say Gustafsson fights Rumble and loses, John Jones fights and loses, Jones and Gustafsson both coming off of losses can fight each other. So there's lots of different ways you can play with it, but I don't think that they're going to make the matchup. I think we'll probably see each of those guys probably headline a fight night card and just, fight another top 10 guy, most likely.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know Ramsey said he had to pop off a second. Ramsey's, are you back? Maybe not. All right. Yeah, Rumble. Yeah, I think Gus and Rumble makes the most sense. I do think Rumble has a chance to beat Gus, but I think Gus probably wins it. He'll definitely be a favorite. But honestly, when Rumble fought Davis, I was thinking that it was either going to be a Rumble first round KO or Davis was going to do exactly to Johnson what he did to Shera. Johnson really proved that not only can he fight in a 15-minute fight, he can fight in a 15-minute fight against a guy, pardon me, who can wrestle his ass off. So I really thought that was a pretty interesting thing to see. I guess we'll move on if Ramses isn't back. A thing a ton of folks were talking about, this Vice article about Joe Rogan that wasn't as much about Fallon Fox. It was about Rogan. Basically, Fallon Fox, if you're not aware, had a transgender surgery, was born a man, is now a woman, and is fighting in mixed martial arts as a woman. And a lot of folks have had a problem with that, and Rogan has been one of the outspoken ones saying that you shouldn't be allowed to do it. We've talked about whether the Fallon Fox thing is kosher or not, so I don't want to beat a dead horse and talk about a topic we've already talked about, but I do want to break down something I'm finding interesting, which is Joe Rogan didn't say anything derogatory towards the transgender movement, didn't say anything personal about Fallon Fox, just said that he believed because Fox was born a man, which is not an insult, it's just a fact, Fox was born a man, that Fox has stronger bone density, a thicker bone structure, thicker, wider fists, wider shoulders, a frame that's a lot more
quicker reaction time.
Yeah. Just things that help you more in fights. I saw someone tweet something I thought was sort of funny, which was saying if Shane Carwin got a transgender surgery today, would you be cool with him fighting women in 2 years? And of course a lot of folks are going to say no, I wouldn't feel good with him fighting men. Nearly the guy's a fucking beast. But the one thing I find really interesting is how people on the side of Rogan seem to be willing to have a discussion about science and biology and anatomy, while the people on the other side literally will just hear that you're against them and immediately just flip the switch and say, no, you're being a bigot. You're saying, like I had a Twitter exchange with someone, and a friend of the show, Jen, her Twitter I can't think here. I'll give her a shout out. JM Adams 003 shout out. She tweeted like, yeah, I don't think Fallon Fox blah 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 blah. And just a swarm of folks start attacking her, and I sort of jump in with a single tweet like, wow, it's funny how she really didn't say anything that inflammatory, and you guys are like calling her like a bitch and calling her like a cunt and all this. Like, this is really funny. and I get a response back saying, "Oh, you think the entire transgender movement is funny? Ha, sure." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? That is not what I said." It's just really really wild. Alan, I'm gonna trust you don't go too deep with crazy bigoted hatred on this one, because I do want to have an honest discussion. But yeah, is what Rogan's saying necessarily a hateful thing? Just to say that he's not sure if he feels comfortable with a transgendered athlete like Fallon Fox fighting women?
It's not fair. It's not safe.
Oh God!
Like the
No, dude, I swear to God, the cursor is over the red kill switch. I just don't go too over the edge, please. We had a hot take that literally took the it was the one before front row Brian, but you literally took us off the air with that one.
It's not safe for all the women, who end up fighting Fallon Fox for all the medical and scientific reasons that, Joe Rogan explained. And, I totally agree with Joe Rogan. I don't, me and Joe Rogan don't see eye to eye on everything, but I listen to the man. I love the man, how he's so open and willing to discuss any type of topic. And, it's funny how, like, with this, in other issues, it's always the people crying wolf who are the most bigoted and intolerant. They always claim to be persecuted, but they're the ones who refuse to have any type of, middle ground and, open discussion about the
ones
issues.
Claiming to be cyber bullied are the real cyber bullies, you're saying.
Exactly. And, for a man with a vagina to fight women that are real women, it's just wrong. It's wrong.
Our boy Ramses is back. Ramses, what is I'm sure you've caught most of this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, basically, of course, Rogan is right. He is arguing a valid point, and someone said it better than I could. I just read it. It was a comment, something along the lines of, if Brock Lesnar had a sex change operation, would you be okay with him, putting on a dress and starting to beat the hell out of women? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say Brock Lesnar went through the whole treatment and everything, started getting the estrogen. You think you're going to change that man into something resembling what a normal female human body frame would resemble? No,
great.
It's outrageous. It's ridiculous. You have to take it to extreme to see exactly what the argument is. And honestly, I don't care, but I do. I'm outraged by the fake outrage. These people that just rush to be offended, just looking for reasons to be offended and censor other people, and just injecting an agenda into everything. This is simple. It's just a man's body should not fight a woman's body. It's not fair. That being said, I've said it before. Let's say Brock does become a woman, and some real natural born female is stupid enough and crazy enough to actually want to and agree to fight. And agree to fight Brock Lesnar. Whatever. All right. If you want to do that, it's your life.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, it's your life. Whatever. People can fight whoever they want to fight, but is it fair and is it even? By no means. No, let's not even kid ourselves. But enough with the fake outrage already. I've had it up to here. You're not going to change anything. All right. It's easier, instead of being offended and trying to change society so that these words are bad and you can't say this and that. Isn't it so much more easier and more reasonable to just live your own life and ignore that shit and not let it bother you? Like, that's the more reasonable, that's going to actually work. Not trying to change the world. I'm sorry. That's it.
Yeah, and great minds think alike. You must have just missed it before you got back, but I said if Shane Carwin got a sex change today, would you be cool with him fighting women in 2 years? I think most people would say no. And really quick, before we move on, we get to the fight we're pumped for November 2014. We skipped you because you weren't back, but thoughts on Anthony Johnson? Suspension ended. Apparently, he was found not guilty. What do you make of him coming back in a potential fight against Alexander Gustafsson, maybe in January in Stockholm, if that's not too quick a turnaround for Rumble?
He's well, the whole domestic violence thing or whatever. Found not guilty. He was more like
Not guilty. Y'all got to feel me.
It was just there's no video, so he skates. And honestly, I didn't pay attention to the story because Mayhem stole his thunder that week.
Yeah.
And as far as him coming back, I don't care. I'm not really a fan. He's actually
Rumble's
a really
girl
unreliable.
fell down the stairs.
He's an unreliable fighter. I mean, shit, they cut him once, right? I mean, you can't trust this guy with a belt or to show up on a title fight. He'd be the most bullshit champion of all time. He doesn't deserve a title shot. He should just be one of these guys that he'll be mid-tier, he'll be on the card, co-main maybe, but nah, no title shot. You don't want this guy as champion, trust me.
Ramses, do you know how many fights in a row Rumble Johnson has won?
I have no idea.
Guess.
It does not matter to me.
Stab in the dark. Stab in the dark.
I don't know. In the UFC? 4?
No, just fights. He's only had 2 UFC fights against Phil Davis.
I'll guess 4, man. That's it.
Guy's on an 8-fight winning streak since all of the crazy white shit when he was moving down to 170 and lost to Koscheck and then lost to Vitor and was subsequently cut from the UFC. He hasn't lost since 2012. He hasn't lost. And yeah, in his past, when he was a welterweight / middleweight in the UFC, he wasn't reliable. But I really think he's found his stride. He's KO'd guys with iron chins, finished Little Nog in 44 seconds. Phil Davis, who is usually getting judges' nods over folks, I mean, Rumble pieced him up for 15 minutes. Couldn't get taken down by a stiff, former D1 All-American Penn State wrestler in Davis. I really believe in Johnson, man. And what's really huge, of the 3 guys after Cormier and Jones, which are Gus, Rumble, and Evans, the one thing that he really has going for him is the fact that he hasn't fought John Jones yet.
Look, man, I'm racking my brain here trying to think of a Anthony Johnson highlight moment, and I can't think of a damn one. Why is that? That's all I got to say.
It's because you must not have been watching much World Series of Fighting. He had a brutal
Nobody
KO.
was.
But, I mean, World Series of Fighting 1, he had headlined the card and finished it with a KO. World Series of Fighting 2 had headlined the card and beat the shit
See,
out
that's
of
what I'm saying, though.
out
I
of
can't think of one.
Arlovsky, who's currently doing
UFC
well
guy.
in the UFC heavyweights. Yeah,
I'm
but,
sure
I
he's
mean...
the shit. I'm sure he's the greatest fighter in the world.
But he hasn't had much time. He fought at World Series of Fighting 8 in this year. His first UFC fight was in April, and then he fought again in July. He hasn't had much time, but I'm telling you,
all right,
give him some time.
All right.
Hell yeah, give him the belt, people. It's his. Vice broke an article. Yeah, people, let's get to, like I teased so cleverly 10 minutes ago, the fights you're pumped for November 2014. There are a lot of fights to choose from. I was really tempted to take Hunt versus Verdum because whenever you got that heavyweight strap on the line, it's always going to be a fun-ass fight. But I actually chose Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson, two featherweights. Both of these guys are on fucking fire. Edgar just I was there live. It broke my heart. He pieced up my favorite fighter and retired him in Vegas. Cub, I mean, he probably makes the most sense to get a title shot now that Chad has lost again. If he beats Frankie, I'm sure he'll get that title shot. This makes sense for a title eliminator. If Edgar wins, I don't think he necessarily gets an immediate shot just because he's already fought Jose. They might slot Connor in front of him. But both of these guys, the reason I'm choosing it is not because of the belt implications. It's because they can both strike their asses off. They can both grapple their fucking asses off. They're both, more than anything else, just gamers. 3-round fight, 5-round fight, 11-round fight, 100-round fight. These guys are going to go out there round after round and put it all on the fucking line. You show me any Frankie Edgar fight, and it's going to be a goddamn barn burner. And lately, the same has gone for Cub Swanson. So, personally, Frankie Edgar, Cub Swanson, it's going to be a headliner, I believe, of the card after UFC 180 on November 22nd in Austin, Texas. Ramses, you better go to that shit. Co-main evented by Bobby Green and Edson Barbosa. Cub versus Frankie. God damn, I cannot wait for this fight. Alan, what fight are you looking forward to? Ramses, take the mic. Oh, no, there he is.
Let Ramses go first.
Take the mic, Ramses.
Yeah, I was gonna. My fight pick was gonna be Gastelum, but you know what? I will go with the hometown hero. Now that you mention Austin, Yves Edwards is taking on Admiral Akbar Areola. It's gonna be a good one. These gentlemen together have something combined like 184 fights. God bless them. Of course, Yves is going to win. He is a Thug Jitsu master, the person who gave me my black belt, trained me, taught me everything I knew, the foundations that have become my body, mind, and spirit and character. Fortitude, perseverance, torque, lethalness. Yves Edwards, all the way. Just bet the farm. I don't even know what the odds are. This guy Akbar, he ain't got no chance of her. You hear me, Abdul? You're finished, Ali. Out of here.
Alan, are you picking our boy KG?
Of course. I was waiting to see if Ramses was going to pick him, and he didn't. He made a bad bet. KG going all the way in this co-main event slot. And we all know he's the real main event of that show because, let's be honest, the heavyweights, they don't got nothing on KG. And I think he's going to knock Ellenberger out. Ellenberger's done, and KG's going to end up being 5-0. I just hope the weight cut goes okay. Come on, KG. Go Team Darkside on a mission for gold.
Team Darkside. He is going to be the co-main event at UFC 180 in Mexico City. Going to be a fun card, taking on Jake Ellenberger, 2 top 10 welterweights. Alan, we both saw him at the LA Comedy Club in Las Vegas. I'm blanking on the casino that it's in. I want to say the Rio, but I'm probably wrong. I'll look it up, but the LA Comedy Club in Las Vegas, go visit it. Go see Adam Hunter. I mean, the guy gets a lot of shit on Twitter, but live, he's fucking hilarious. And I'm just giving him the shout out because we saw him live, and that's where we chilled a little bit after the show with Connor, Phil Davis, a few other bums, a few other superstars. It was fun. If you go to Vegas, the ownership was nice. LA Comedy Club. And I'm giving them a plug, not because they gave me any money, just because they were nice people. God damn it. We will move on a couple fight previews before we break down UFC 180 and get the fuck out of here. Matt Brown and Tarek Saffiedine, that Stockholm card I mentioned that we might see Gustafsson and Rumble on January 24th, Stockholm, Sweden. Matt Brown versus Tarek Saffiedine is going to be on the card. Fun to see Matt Brown come back, a war against Robbie Lawler. I want to see him just start knocking fools out again because he is a wrecking ball at 170, taking on Tarek Safadine, who fought Marquardt in the Strikeforce finale, took a ton of time off, then beat Hun Gyu Lim, then lost to Rory McDonald. He himself, both of these guys, top 10 welterweights. Last fight was a loss, trying to get back in the driver's seat. They don't want to get on a losing streak. I have Matt Brown all the way here because Tarek Safadine is most comfortable in a style where he can sort of sit back a little bit and chop you down and wear you down. Matt Brown is not the kind of fighter that is going to let you sit back and try and chop you down. Matt Brown is always moving forward, a la round 1 of Yao versus Allen 2. Always moving forward, making the other guy feeling uncomfortable as shit, forcing them to do one of two things. Either stand up and trade shots with you, which is a bad fucking call if your opponent's Matt Brown, or have to circle out and basically look like you're running away the entire round, like I said, a la first round, Yao versus Allen 2. Allen, I'm making allusions to your fight against Yao, you being the Matt Brown. Are you also leaning toward Matt in this matchup?
Only because I want Matt Brown to win, and then Hung Yu Lim to get to fight Matt Brown, and Hung Yu Lim destroy Matt Brown.
You just want to easily
destroy him
that
because
happens.
yes, easily. Jesus Christ, do you even think Matt Brown could hurt Hung Yu Lim? The only reason Hung Yu Lim got hurt was because of the leg kicks. No leg kicks, and nobody else beats Hung Yu Lim. Bottom line.
I think he could knock Lim's head off. I think he could knock about anyone's
Did you see
head
Pascal's
170.
Kraus punch Hung Yu Lim?
But Pascal Kraus ain't Matt Brown.
He hits harder than Matt Brown.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Ramsey's thoughts on Matt Brown versus Tarek Safadine.
This fight does not interest me at all. I like Matt Brown, but the time has come and gone. This fight, what I mean is, it has no title implications whatsoever to me, at least that I can see. So this is a nothing fight. I don't really, I'll forget about it until, after right now, up until the moment it's on in front of me and I'm watching it. This means nothing to me.
This means nothing to Ramsey, so you heard it here first. Really quick, I was going to ask when we were breaking down the Eves Edwards fight. It is in Austin, Texas. It's in I think 11 days now. Ramses, have you made a formal announcement about whether you will be going? Alan, I'm not sure whether you're going to be driving over from Louisiana. Are your court proceedings around this copyright lawsuit going to get in the way of that?
I'm not going to. It is very doubtful that I'll be in attendance that night. A lot of politics, scheduling conflicts, and I really just don't like being around people in general. And I honestly prefer watching the fights and tweeting about it, just watching laid back, the comfort of my own home, not having to sit in some seat that's smaller than a damn folding chair at a wedding. It's more uncomfortable than an airplane coach. It's disgusting to me.
I had to book a round trip coach flight, because I'm living in Denver and all my family's in Tampa Bay. I had to book
disgusting.
Frontier Air is literally
it hurts.
Called the worst airline in America on a regular basis.
You can feel your knees cramping up, and you're just trying to flex them, and
I'm not a flyweight, man. My knees are getting jammed up in the seat in front of me. The guy next to me, who, of course, because I'm a big guy, of course, the guy next to me is gonna weigh at least 3 bills. I always just give up. I always go window seat. I don't even attempt to make a move at the armrest between me and the guy in the middle, because being the middle guy sucks. The least you can do for middle guy is give him both armrests. Just be like, look, middle guy, you don't get the aisle, you don't get the window, you kind of just got both of us, so you can get both of the armrests. I like to take the window and just sort of press myself up against the wall, put on noise-canceling headphones, and try to completely limit, if not minimize, the amount of suicidal thoughts I'm having on the flight. But yeah, 4 hours to Tampa and then 4 hours back to Denver. Both of them are red-eye flights. It's going to be a dandy.
Sucks, man. Xanax.
Alan, dude, speaking of Xanax, should I share this with the podcast audience? Fuck it, of course I should. I was flying to Costa Rica. My parents live in Costa Rica. I don't know if I've made that hot take yet, but yeah, both of my parents actually live in Costa Rica, and I flew down there like 3 or 4 years ago when I was in college. I'm gonna use fake names. Actually, I don't even need to say her name, but this girl drives me to the airport, and we're driving there, and she isn't going, but it's like an hour and a half drive from Gainesville to where I was going to UF. And ladies and gentlemen, this is story time on the MMA podcast. Bear with us here. We're driving to the airport, and she gives me half a Xanax bar, which I'd never taken Xanax. I don't know what is gonna fuck me up. She gives me half of like a bar or something, and we're driving there. I don't really feel it, and we're pulling up to the airport, and she's like, "Yeah, do you feel it?" Yeah, I'm like, "Not really," and she gives me the other half. A few minutes later, I'm stepping out of the car, getting my bags. First half hits me. Boom. I'm like, oh, shit. Second half kicks me somewhere when I'm at the gate, and I literally do not have any memories of boarding the plane, being on the plane, de-embarking the plane, going through customs in fucking Costa Rica, seeing my mom for the first time in like 6 months. I like the lights kind of turn back on.
Good.
And I'm in a car with my fucking mom. I'm like, what? Huh? I'm like, Mom, hey, I love you. And she's like, yeah, I know. We like hugged and everything at the airport. I love you too. I'm like, oh, all right. and I always like, I would pay so much money to just have a video, like whether it's surveillance footage or what. I just want to see what I was doing on the fucking plane. Was I just like sleeping? Was I playing with my fucking phone? Was I like screaming at people? I literally have no idea. It is a memory that I will never possess. Alan, you have any stories about taking a bunch of drugs and getting on flights?
Absolutely not. I'm straight edge.
I picked you up at the Vegas airport once, and it was awkward as fuck because I had literally never seen you in real life before. Trying to make fucking small talk. But then we saw UFC 167. That shit was fun. Back to UFC, folks. We went off way too fucking hard on a tangent there. I don't know. We're talking about Bindo versus Alvarez now. I think Bindo versus Alvarez, January 18th in Boston. Probably a fight that the winner is in the top 5 of the lightweights, one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. Both of them trying to, rally back, sort of like Brown and Safady, and it's got a similar storyline. Both of them lost their last fight. Bindo against Rafael Dos Anjos, and Alvarez against Donald Cerrone. Both of them, trying to stay top 10, get back in the driver's seat, chase that title shot, and the winner of the fight easily could. What are your thoughts on Bindo versus Alvarez, Alan?
I don't know, man. It's a really awkward matchup. Benson likes to, sit back, kind of pace himself. and Eddie Alvarez is just like constant pressure, coming forward. And, I think he just got ate up by the leg kicks, of Donald Cerrone just being a much bigger guy. But it's really hard. I can't even really break this fight down because it's just there's such opposite styles that there's no telling how the fight's going to play out. You can't really.
And it's opposites. Sorry.
No, I was just saying you can't really break it down on paper because there's no telling what happens.
Yeah, not only are their styles so contrasting, but they're both very good all around. Both of them can strike their asses off, grapple their asses off, have incredible gas tanks. Both of them have that X factor as far as when it comes down to a really close, tough fight, they seem to be able to pull out the win. So you're really right. It is hard to sort of sit down and think in your head, all right, stylistically, how are these guys going to match up against one another? Ramses?
This fight, Bendo versus Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez, as far as I'm concerned, the hype's dead. He is 0-1. That's all I know about him.
Damn.
Benson Henderson, former champ. He got knocked out cold last time with a toothpick in his mouth. Embarrassing. Eddie Alvarez, man, if he loses this one, he's kind of dug himself in too deep, and they should cut him. It's embarrassing. This guy was supposed to be a champion. He's coming over. Can't even. Come on, the Cowboy. Cowboys fought like 8 times this year. He's half dead. It was embarrassing. Eddie Alvarez, man, I wanted to believe, but this is just. It's making Bellator look bad. So the UFC's laughing their ass off all day. You think they want to pay Eddie Alvarez $500,000 per fight? No. This is funny to them. I don't know who's going to win this fight. I don't know. But Eddie, man, he had one chance with me, and he didn't even press me. I saw nothing of value. I'm sorry, Eddie. I'm sorry for you. Good luck. That's it.
That's the word. Yo, speaking of the word, we got UFC 180 to move along to. Do you have a fight tip for us? If so, we'll do that. If not, we'll just move on to UFC 180.
Just keep the struggle alive and lawyer up at the first opportunity, people. That's this week's fucking fight tip. How about that? Stay out of jail.
How about that? Stay out of jail, people. UFC 180, like we normally do, we'll break down pretty much the whole card first, except for the main and co-main. We'll break down all the cards up to the co-main. Then we'll break down the co-main, Ellenberger Gastelum. Then we'll break down the main event, Fabricio versus Mark Hunt. And let's fucking do it. UFC 180 at the Arena Ciudad de Mexico in Mexico City, Mexico. This Wednesday, live on pay-per-view, normal time, 10 in the East, 7 in the West, for the interim UFC heavyweight championship. The first time the UFC is doing a card in Mexico. It's going to be a lot of fun. The prelims, you have the tough Latin America featherweight and bantamweight finals, which does make sense because as far as Latin American fighters go, you obviously have your outlier in Kane, but most of the big guys, especially in boxing, are lighter weight guys. So in a way, it makes sense that they decided to do featherweight and bantamweight. But I always feel like it's weird because you usually have a lot of guys who either move up or move down a weight class after tough, like a Gastelum, who's on the co-main event, who did tough middleweights with Chael and Jones, and then moved down to welterweight afterwards. You have guys like Florian, who I think he did a middleweight season and ended up at fucking featherweight. I thought it was a little weird that they decided to do two weight classes that were only 10 pounds apart, because you probably have a lot of guys who, from different weight classes who may end up fighting one another once they move up or down from featherweight to bantamweight or vice versa. You have the featherweight tough Latin America final fight between Yar Rodriguez and Leandro Morales. The bantamweight one between Alejandro Perez and Jose Alberto Quinones. Hope I said his name right. Jessica I is on it. Gabriel Benito's Gabriel Benitez and Humberto Brown. Leslie Smith is going to be taking on Jessica Ai. And on the main card, you have 2 welterweight fights: Edgar Garcia versus Hector Urbina, Augusto Montano and Chris Sorry, I had something in my throat there. That was not a pleasant sound. And Chris Heatherly. And in a fight that actually fucking matters, because honestly, except for maybe the Jessica Ai fight, I don't think in any of these fights, I'm not saying these fighters will never reach a level, like a top level, but as far as this being a fight that matters, these fights do not fucking matter. One that does matter a little bit, though, a featherweight fight between two top featherweights in Lamas and Bermudez. Lamas has gotten a shot against Jose Aldo, but Dennis Bermudez, if he wins, it's going to be really interesting because he has a legit claim to throw in his hat for a title shot. Maybe even a more legit claim than Conor McGregor, who's going to be taking on Dennis Seaver. He's going to be throwing his hat in the ring. McGregor is going to be throwing his hat in the ring for a title fight. The winner against Frankie against Cubs is going to be throwing his hat into the ring. So this is going to be an interesting month for the featherweights. We'll stop it there. We'll talk about the main and co-main events separately. Obviously, in my eyes, the fight that stands out is the fight between Ricardo Lamas and Dennis Bermudez. The eye fight a little bit too. I'll have my eye on the tough Latin America finals just to see what these guys have. I didn't really watch tough Latin America, but I'm interested to see, the top 4 guys from the season. As far as who I think wins the tough finales, like I said, I have no fucking clue. I think I wins, and I also think that Dennis Bermudez pulls it out against Ricardo Lamas. Alan, what are your thoughts on all these fights going down in Mexico City this Saturday?
All that I'm really interested in is Dennis the Menace Bermudez. Dude, Ricardo Lamas is just really, really, really skilled guy and trains really hard. He's still developing, but I just don't think like size and pressure and I think Dennis Bermudez is as good as him or maybe even better, but also just has like this different type of like wrestling pressure and this different type of just like strength than Ricardo Lamas has. And Lamas, yeah, he can wrestle and he likes to bully people up against the cage, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen to him is that Bermudez is going to end up pushing him up against the cage and just, bullying him, and Bermudez could even get a finish here, man. I just don't see this as a very good matchup for Lamas. Lamas actually looks kind of small for the division. He always like kind of struck me as a 135er. Yeah, I'm going with Dennis Bermudez. Really excited for this fight. Want to see Dennis do really good. See him get that win. Call out Conor McGregor and whip that ass.
Alan, I got 2 words for you, and it's not Irish pride. It's Adrian Broner. You got nothing to say to that? I don't even know why I said it. I just said I was going to get a lot of Floyd and Broner references in for Yao. I'm going to edit out that giant span of silence so when people listen on iTunes and YouTube, it doesn't sound nearly as horrible as it sounded live. Trust me, if you were listening to it live, there was like a ton of silence, and I sat there waiting for Alan to say something because I spoke to him directly. He said nothing. It made for a horrible pod, but like I said, I'll edit it out and post. And to our folks who listen to it on iTunes and YouTube, you're welcome, because I just saved you a lot of awkwardness.
Whoa, man. Yeah, this card, UFC 180, Mexico City, is what we're talking about here, people. The aside from the co-main, which we'll get to, even the Lamas versus Enrique Iglesias, I don't even know.
The only fight Iglesias.
Honestly, I'm gonna be really tired.
Aren't you Mexican yourself, and you're like calling these guys Enrique Iglesias and shit? What the fuck, Ramses?
Well, actually, Lamas and I.
These are your people.
Yes, technically, yeah, but Lamas and I actually share Spanish descent. So I'll go for him, I guess, but I don't
You're all
care.
brown to me.
Yeah, I understand where it's all the same to you people. But yeah, Jessica I though, definitely that's the fight that I am actually gonna make sure that I am awake for. I'll rouse myself from my weekend nap. That'll be a good one. And aside from that though, I mean, it's like that. It's like what you just tried to pull off, man. All I gotta say is woof, woof.
Woof. Yeah, I'm gonna edit the shit out of that long thing of silence. Moving on, the co-main event. Hopefully this time when I address Alan, he'll actually say something. I'm sure he will, because it's someone who all of us care about. It is our boy KG Kelvin Gastelum. He's taking on Jake Ellenberger. And Gastelum keeps getting himself into fights that no one thinks he can win. Whether it was the fight against Uriah Hall, no one thought he'd win. The fight against Rick Story, no one thought he'd win. The fight against Nico Musoke, even though he was a favorite, I saw a ton of people picking against him, especially after he had problems making weight. I think it was the only fight. He has had trouble with weight before, but it was the first time he's actually missed weight. He weighed in at 172.75. And now Jake Ellenberger, it's a fight that, frankly, not many people are giving him a chance in. I'm pulling up the fight odds now. Oh wow, Gastelum actually a bit of a betting favorite here, but like I said, I've seen a lot of folks breaking the fight down, talking about the fight, and most of what I've seen is going Ellenberger in a match where I think stylistically it really looks good for Gastelum, who is just a natural boxer, man. The guy not only throws just these liquid fluid combos, but the way he moves around, the way he moves his head, the guy's tough to hit. And Ellenberger, we see guys like TJ Dillashaw who get way better in every single fight, and guys like Ellenberger, I don't think he's necessarily gotten that much better in his last few fights. I don't want to say that he's plateaued out the rest of his career, but at the same time, I'm just not seeing as much development out of him between each fight that it's going to take to win the welterweight title, let alone crack the top 5. So I'll admit I'm a little biased here. I've always been in KG's corner. I was one of the only ones who picked him on the Word on the Street and the MMA Podcast to go the whole way. It was tough because we had Uriah Hall and Kelvin Gastelum, who were both Team Darkside. Most folks were going Uriah Hall, but I stuck to it. I will admit that part of it was just this inside joke I was doing, where he was doing it to capture Ronda Rousey's heart, because there was sort of this scene in Tough 17 where like he's talking to her and you can tell he's a little nervous, but no, I've picked him in every single fight since the first fight in the Tough House. So why would I start going against him now? KG all the fucking way. And he's a sweetheart of a man too. Like I mentioned, Alan and I both got a chance to chat with him a little bit in Vegas. Alan, I'm sure you're going Gastelum, but other than hardcore bias, why are you making that pick?
Because he's got more to lose.
Yeah, he does.
Jake Ellenberger. I just don't. I think he chokes, and he might be a superior athlete to some of the guys that he's fought. He might, be a better wrestler, but I just think mentally, Kelvin is just tough as nails, and don't see Ellenberger being able to capitalize on any of his, physical advantages. And I see Kelvin just, being able, even if it's a close fight, being able to just tough it out, grit it out, just with his toughness. That's it. It's just going to come down to toughness. That's all.
Yo, Alan, Money May.
White Republicans.
Ramses.
Kelvin Gastelum is a close and personal friend of mine. He's one of my best friends, I gotta say. I was talking to him about a month ago. He calls me up. He's like, man, I don't know what to do. I need to focus here. Like I got to cut this weight. You know, that's always been an issue with me.
Yeah, what do we make of this weight stuff?
Well, look, here's what I told him. I was like, look, don't worry about Dolce, all right? I got this. What you got to do is you got to clear your head. You got to focus. You got to get away from people and distractions. You got to go camping or fishing. Next thing you know, the other day I'm watching UFC Countdown. I see Kelvin on a fishing boat inside of a tent on the boat. I told him to go camping or fishing. He went both.
The boat is in the tent, or the tent is on the boat?
This motherfucker has a tent on a boat, and that's where he's been sleeping in the lead up to this fight.
It's not a boat inside of a tent?
He ain't fucking around, this guy, is what the point is. All right? Whatever he's floating around in ain't the issue here, Jake. Focus. That's exactly what Kelvin had to do. And now he's dropping the weight like it's nothing. He's going to do away with Ellenberger easily, people. Kelvin Gastelum is the real. Jake Ellenberger, it's going to be one of these fights where he finds out what the new generation is all about. Like, Ellenberger ain't going to know what hit him. He's going to get run over. And yes, I mean, let's face it. Name one MMA fighter who was a champion who never was defeated at all. Never. Just
BJ Penn.
Never lost in his entire life.
BJ Penn.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't happen. So yeah, someday KG is going to lose. I ain't ever going to be the fool that fucking bets on that, though. Word on the street.
And, it's funny I bring up Penn. Penn and Gastelum have both had issues with Dolce, albeit a little bit different. Penn and Dolce have had apparently this really nasty falling out where Penn's like threatening to beat him up if he sees him or something. Gastelum not going as far as Penn, but at the same time, it's funny. We actually had KG on the show after UFC 171, where he didn't miss weight, but it was his second fight at welterweight, and it looked like he was having issues. He had to weigh in a second time, and according to Kelvin himself, what he said on the Word on the Street podcast is literally minutes before he had to step on the scale, he took a, quote, miracle poo that dropped him under the limit and let him weigh in at the correct weight. I asked him if he was going to go back to Dolce. He said definitely. He didn't do it. Why is that? Probably because he charges, I think he charges a pretty insane price. I think it's like 15 or 20% of a fighter's purse or something. Something like that. But this time around, Dolce actually turned him down because of scheduling conflict. He was working too many other guys already. Really? Yeah. So it was Dolce's fault this time. Yep. He reached out to him. You son of a bitch.
Does BJ Penn actually think that he could beat up Mike Dolce? Because I think Mike Dolce would fucking stomp a mud hole on BJ Penn. Sorry, Jay.
Yo, when BJ Penn gets done beating the shit out of Mike Dolce, I'm going to send him to Baton Rouge. He's a close personal friend of mine, just like Floyd Mayweather and Adrian Broner. And I won't have you talking negative about them on the
White
MMA Podcast.
Republicans.
Is BJ going to show up with his, like, put up your Dukes 1920s boxer stand?
Oh my god!
Come here. I want to fight you.
I want to fight that BJ Penn. Honestly, like for my debut, that's who I want to fight.
And I'll attend your funeral, and it will be a sad, sad day. No, I can't explain how disheartening that was to see fucking live. Jesus Christ.
And then the next day, his striking coach is on Ariel's show insisting that he didn't show him that shit.
Yeah, apparently Penn, like, last fucking minute is like, yo, I'm going to stand up like a tree. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, man. I do not fucking know. It was
Jake, did you get BJ some of that special sauce?
some of the special sauce. I brought lots of special sauces to Las fucking Vegas. My suitcase looked like goddamn Hunter S. Thompson's.
Yeah, but did you slip BJ some? Because nothing else explains that.
Steroids, edible
No.
marijuana.
The stuff that fucked up his
Mescaline.
mind.
Oh yeah, I gave him a ton of edibles, like right before the fucking fight. He had like smoked a couple joints, had a bottle of edibles, was super fucked up. I do
And
not want to think about that
so-
fight any longer.
You also licked my buckle.
That's a strange thing to say. Your main event, it's going to be a UFC heavyweight championship match, an interim strap between Fabricio Verdum and Mark Hunt. This event was expected to be headlined by a UFC undisputed heavyweight championship between the current champion Cain Velasquez and top contender Fabricio Verdum. But just about a few weeks ago, I think it was October 21st, it was announced that Cain Velasquez was forced to pull out of the bout due to a injured knee, was replaced by Mark Hunt, which changed the originally planned title fight into an interim title bout. Everyone's going for Fabricio in this fight. He's minus 420 on five dimes, which minus 420 light him if you got him, cocksuckers. Hunt always has that chance to finish the fight via strikes because the guy has fucking bricks in his fists. He just KO'd Roy Nelson. That's all I gotta say. He just KO'd the guy with maybe the strongest chin in the entire UFC. The guy who stood in there for rounds and rounds and didn't get finished by Cormier, by Dos Santos, by Mir, by Verdum himself. The one reason I'm really thinking that Hunt doesn't have a chance, it's unfortunate and it's not his fault, but the fact that he's doing this fight on less than a month's notice, and the fact that he's flying to Mexico City, which I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back about 3 years. UFC 135. Mark Hunt took on Ben Rothwell here in Denver, Colorado. Both guys, it was a horrible fight. It was so horrible that the UFC literally, they did one more event after that, UFC 150. Since then, they have not returned to the area. Luckily, they're going to come back in a few months. But that fight just turned so many people off as far as fighting at altitude. That's only a mile high. Mexico City is 1.5 miles, almost 2 miles high. It is way up there with altitude. Both guys are going to be sucking wind. Verdum has been there for months filming Tough Mexico, while Mark Hunt has not. I think he flew to Mexico City a couple weeks ago to sort of get used to the altitude and be as acclimatized as he could. But I don't know if he's going to be able to really survive that rough altitude in Mexico City, because he showed in the fight against Rothwell that, man, he doesn't look good at altitude. But, you know, like I said, even though I do expect Fabricio to win a decision, you know, if the fight goes to the mat, Hunt's fucked. He's totally fucked. Because on the mat, it is Verdum, who's a dangerous black belt who subbed Fedor, and Hunt, who, I don't want to shit on the guy, but Sean McCorkle subbed him out at UFC 119. Come on, people. But standing up, Mark Hunt, he's always got a chance. He's got iron fists. Just, I don't see him beating Verdum, especially with the crazy improved stand-up that the Brazilian showed over the last year or two. So I got Fabricio all day. Alan?
Part of me says that this fight's gonna look like Fabricio's last fight, where he clowned the ape shit out of.
Travis Brown.
Yeah, I mean, like that's my mind tells me that's what this fight's gonna look like, but for some reason, after seeing Mark Hunt do what he did at UFC Japan Live, like being there, I believe.
Oh yeah, that was a card you went to.
I believe in Hunto, and I'm going with Hunto for the KO upseto of Verdumo at 180.
What round though?
Second though. Though. We live though.
We live though. Ramses?
On the word on the street though.
Yeah, this one I'll give the edge to Verdum. I believe that he'll win simply on advantage alone, but I think this will be a straight shoot. Of course, originally this entire card was just going to be shaped and manufactured just to put Kane over in Mexico. That all fell apart, and basically this entire card fell apart. It is a disaster. The UFC basically they want to cancel it. I mean, but it's too late. So they get Mark Hunt in there, But make no mistake, people. The UFC doesn't even give a shit about this fight, and kind of I don't either. They didn't even try to save it by putting Alvarez on it. Real Mexican. They didn't even. I mean, Diego Sanchez. They let him pull out like what, a month or two before the fight even went down. That's the equivalent of like 2 years. It's like pulling out of a fight 2 years before it happens in our time. Nobody gives a shit. This fight is going to be a shoot, though. They'll let it go. The UFC doesn't care who gets the belt right now at this point, because the plan is to just do it again and have Kane take it back. But yeah, so this is it's weird. It's a title fight, but it's a filler fight. But Verdum has the advantage. He's been there the longest. He's been training for this fight specifically, a title fight. Mark Hunt, of course, was 100 pounds overweight by some reports, with basically his own. It's going to take the usual Mark Hunt lucky smack in the face to pull this off. And if he is the champion, the heavyweight division is kind of back to being like just a flukish kind of round robin joke. And that'll be sad, but I mean, I don't really care who wins this fight, but I'll give it to Verdum. I believe that he has more advantage, his dojo, and he speaks better Spanish. So that's working for him. But I'll watch it. Why not?
Hell yeah, and people, I think that does it for the 110th edition of the MMA Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, dealing with all the crazy bullshit. Alan, where can the people find you?
They can't, because I'm on the run.
That's right, people. You cannot follow Alan at Westland Eagle AH. Ramses, what about you?
The Ant Jimmy Show on Twitter. The word on the street. I'll bring you what you actually need to hear, not what I want you to hear. The harsh truth, kind of shit your parents never told you. It's the word on the street.
That's the word on the street. Check out last week's Word on the Street podcast with Jamie Huey and Front Row Brian. We talked to Front Row Brian about different beefs. His podcast coming in December. We congratulated Coach Huey. He's having a baby. He's having a little baby Huey. That's right, people. Tiago, the newest member of Team Darkside. We congratulated the coach on that. So go check out. Just Google Word on the Street, Jamie Huey, Front Row Brian, and I'm sure you'll find that, people. Visit the MMApodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Tell a friend about the MMA Podcast. We appreciate the shit out of it. The tabs are on the top of the MMApodcast.com to find our links to YouTube and iTunes. Subscribe to us. Listen to me. Listen to Alan, the Eagle, saying outrageous shit. Listen to Ramses. People, he is a global icon and a national treasure, one we all love. Also, just friends, Yao Yao, the Truth, Ross Finkelstein, the original co-host, Chris Lowe. So many friends we've made along the way. Our buddy, I'm actually going to end it. A guy who follows us, supports the show, our boy Mystery Meds. It's funny, our boy Conley Razor, he's been on a few times, and our boy Mystery Deja, he's on Twitter at Mystery Deja, the word mystery, then Deja, and both of them have sent me musical stuff they've done, and I'll be honest with y'all, like, if it would have sucked, I would have listened to it and been like, oh, that's good, whatever, but both of these guys, like, Conley makes some excellent fucking music, and Mystery, I'm a rap fan. This man is a rapper out of Canada. He's better than Drake, rapping out of Toronto. And we're going to end it with one of Mystery's hits. The song's called Daydreamin'. We'll see you next week for the MMA Podcast 111. We're out, people.
What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
I throw my hoodie up, I'm cold as ice, and we don't hear what you're saying. You got a broken mic. When I can't write, it keeps me up at night like a poltergeist. Haters take shots, blocking Corey Price, and I'm steady getting high. In a 745, flying by with the bottle of the Colt 45 that I threw over the side of the bridge at 401 in Morningside. Mind superside, roads collide. It takes a certain kind of person, and I can't describe how hard that I've tried. Hey, Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, then you're last. Fuck second prize. Step into the mind of Jekyll and Hyde. I'm still daydreaming, it'll happen. I feel like I can breathe again. Tony Braxton, no passion. Your flow's so old-fashioned. Bruce Lee said leave, don't enter the dragon. I'm still daydreaming, it'll happen. I feel like I can breathe again. Tony Braxton, no passion. Your flow's so old-fashioned. Bruce Lee said leave, don't enter the dragon.